Who'd you talk to? What's going on? It is me, Mike Lepre, King Michael. This is World of Legit Fantasy Wrestling, brought to you by legitpodcast.com. It is 0908-2022. Nothing for the math geeks. I've already gone over that. Joining me as always, Joey Paranormal. What's up, Joe?
Not much, man. Yourself?
Just doing podcasts. Wrestling. We're moving over to wrestling. The problem is tonight's the start of the NFL season, so it's not like me and you don't follow the NFL.
What's the NFL?
Exactly. So, if you wanted to place a bet, and you still have time, Joe. By the way, Brother Ray, myself, and Matt all like the Rams to win outright. Even Buddy picked the Rams, but Brother Ray, myself, and Buddy like the over 52, and Mastradamus likes under. But we're all telling you to take the Rams. So, moving on to wrestling. Now, listen, here's what's messed up. I was thinking about, like, when we finally come back and do a show, how do we even start off? Because here's the thing, right? We can recap what has happened, or we can start off with the fact that if you go back and watch our former shows, I don't want to say we laid down the blueprint, but we have to have, like, I mean, we predicted so many things. It's as if we're gambling. You understand what I'm saying? We predicted stuff like gamblers. Like, am I wrong in saying that?
Oh no, we were pretty damn accurate with a lot of the things we said. Namely being that if Vincent Kennedy McMahon finally let someone else run the show, they might see better results than what he was getting. And by God, WWE has looked a lot different since he stepped away.
But it's not just that. It's the storylines. It's the alliances. It's the things we've called out that they should do that, like, a month or two later happen, or even like a week later sometimes. That's happened way too many times on this show. I'm being serious too. Am I wrong?
Yeah, they've finally added a ton of factions now. They're really starting to lean into that, which I like. It's long overdue. I mean, you got Solo Sikoa, who's now part of the Bloodline. There's, I mean, heavy rumors that the Wyatt family will be making a return in some capacity soon. You've got Judgment Day that's getting bigger with Dominic Mysterio turning heel. You've got Hit Row that's come back. You've got that like modeling agency thing, which I'm not a fan of, but like it's still something. You know what I mean?
No.
It's funny how things work out, my friend. It's funny how things work out.
But what did I say about the before he fights The Rock? What did I say? They should bring up
Solo
the brother.
Sikoa. Yeah.
Right? He should show up as the heavy at like a pay-per-view or something. And then that's exactly what he did.
Yep. Yeah. It pissed me off pretty heavily, to be honest, because I think that Drew McIntyre, I just hate that Drew McIntyre didn't get that spot in front of his home, in front of as much of a hometown crowd as he's probably ever going to get in his wrestling career, and they had him lose in that fashion. I think is a really, really poor choice, especially after seeing the reception that Sheamus got in defeat. I think that crowd was just was yearning for a W to take home. And there was a lot of rumors that they were going to have Roman drop one of the belts. And I think that's coming to Karrion Kross.
You want my opinion?
I never do, but you always give it to me anyway.
On three, when I say three, hit the button. 1, 2. I don't give a about the fact that they feel disappointed that he didn't drop the belt. I said before, a long time before, they need to make Roman become so ridiculously undefeated that it just goes on and on and on to the point where it just seems like nobody's going to beat him. Did I not say that, Joe? And they're doing exactly that. Finally, they're keeping one champ who just keeps beating everyone.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. I think right now is a huge time for them to capitalize on some things that I definitely think we need to talk about at some point in the show as well. There's a lot of turmoil in wrestling right now, and I think WWE has so much momentum that they either need to unify the titles or split them up again and give somebody else who maybe not necessarily deserves it, because I don't know if Karrion Kross necessarily deserves it, but They have to put the belt on somebody. And I mean, some of these returns, I mean, you got Braun Strowman coming back, and I couldn't imagine him coming back, which again, I want to throw out there. We also said probably 15 times when he left that he would be back in some way. We just how. Karrion Kross, literally the week before, was the last show that we did. The week before he debuted, I said, hey, heavily rumored Karrion Kross is coming back. I think he's going to be showing up soon. He literally showed up on that next show. I think one of those guys will end up with a championship run. I'm pretty sure from everything I'm reading, it's going to be Karrion Kross.
So Braun Strowman was brought back the exact wrong way, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, one, if you're in talks with Wyatt or even Rowan, right? Any of those guys, I would have held on to him, right? I would have debuted him with them. Bring that back. I would have not brought him out there with red tights. I would have not brought him out there to beat up the tag team division. Because the minute he started beating up the tag team division, what's the first thing that you thought of?
I mean, I'm probably not going to say the same thing that you think of, because honestly, that to me, I thought it was better than him squashing jobbers, so I actually didn't mind that as much. But I guess you're probably thinking along the lines of like it's them burying the tag team division again.
Wait a minute. Braun Strowman was a tag team champ once. You remember who?
Maybe the Wyatt family. I don't remember.
A 10-year-old kid.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. See, I've blocked that from my memory.
No, I don't. That was shitting on the tag team division more than I've ever seen shitting on the tag team division. In other words, he was so good, he's better than any tag team. He can win it with a kid. So when do they debut him? During this 14 tag match, and he comes out and just destroys every person. Again, destroys the tag division. That's the wrong angle, Joe. That brought back some bad Braun Strowman memories. Like, what was that debut? I mean, come on, man. I like Braun Strowman, but what is that debut?
I'm not going to say that they probably couldn't have debuted him better, but I think the reason that they debuted him before they would bring back possibly like Redbeard or Eric Rowan or Bray Wyatt, I think that with Braun Strowman being heavily involved in the Control Your Narrative, I think they needed to get him under contract and on TV sooner, because he had a whole other thing that he was doing, if that makes sense. Because like Bray Wyatt, from all accounts, is done with the movie that he was shooting and is just kind of waiting. And Eric Rowan has really been, I think, toiling around in like the lower indies and doing like special appearances, but I don't think he's officially in Impact or anything along those lines. So like those guys, I think they can sit on and wait to bring him in. But I think Braun Strowman, the iron was still hot, and they needed to get him in sooner than later because of what he was doing outside of the WWE. I think they were thinking he may have gotten too far into Control Your Narrative that he wouldn't come back.
You don't bring him back like that in red tights. You bring him back mysteriously. You give him some sort of like dark angle. You don't bring him back out there with red tights and have him beat. I'm sorry, I'm eating nachos. Have him beat the tag team division. Like
the Rock's on TV right now. I can't hear it because I have it muted, but he's introducing something for the Chargers. I wouldn't say it, but since it's the wrestling show, I figured I'd interrupt just by saying the great one's on TV.
Yeah, well, but let me advance with this. Horrible way to debut him. Just was. Now, what would you like to talk about? Because CM Punk getting into arguments. There's like
oh my god, that's
shit of news. So will you start, and I will allow you the floor.
I very much want to go into what's going on with AEW, mainly because
the fact that we said that they were going to add too many people, have too many main eventers, not have any room for people like Adam Cole. Like when they signed him, me and you were like, "Where's he going to go?
Yep.
Like, what are they going to do with these guys?"
Malachi Black has already requested his. Yep,
okay.
he wants out. Because now the issue is there's WWE is being run by someone who actually understands talent, and has been known to treat the talent well from NXT, when NXT was actually a really good brand. So a lot of people over at AEW who went over there thinking the grass was greener and are now in the same spot as they were in WWE and just sitting on the sidelines waiting for their opportunity are now like, well, shit, like Aleister Black, he's like, I was a Hunter really liked me over there, so maybe I should go back and I could get put right into the spotlight again. But I think the biggest thing, no matter what, and I'll preface this by saying that I understand that this isn't a work. although it's probably better for business that it happened and got out the way it did because their ratings were through the roof. Because I tuned in yesterday to see the start of AEW, see what happened. But this whole thing with CM Punk, man, it makes you wonder. You like, yeah, the WWE was doing some shady shit, but there's a lot of guys who are career wrestlers in the WWE who like Glenn Jacobs is a big one. I mean, that guy never got the due that he deserves, but he was there for 20, 30 years, and he will never say one bad thing about that company because it worked for him. But CM Punk just hated it, and there was always that.
He's a prick.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Is there were always the rumors of him being toxic in the locker room, but people didn't want to listen, including myself. I mean, because I didn't. There was never really anything major that came out of it. And then have you actually listened to him talking in the
I watched the whole press conference.
Yeah,
I watched more of that press conference than I did of wrestling. How about that?
Yeah, it was that was something else. I mean, he went out there and just took a torch to everything. And I remember watching the promo that he did where he called out Adam Page completely. And again, I mean, there's certain things you just don't do as a wrestler. And
do you understand why this happened?
Yeah.
Listen to me. So Colt Cabana, they brought up Colt Cabana in the interview, in the lawsuit, all that shit. And CM Punk lost his mind in that interview. Now, the problem that's going on in the AEW, which is actually real, not a work. Who's Colt Cabana's close friend?
The Elite.
Hangman Adam Page. The shit that's going on between those two, between Page and CM Punk, have crossed the line. Like, in other words, what CM Punk was trying to say is for Adam Page to come out on TV and say that shit about him, like to go rogue and just like kind of call him out, that made him lose his mind. Like this guy is going into business for himself and calling me out. And that's why I guess Punk followed up with that. And then when the reporter brought up the question again, he's like, I can't believe you guys are like, but then it blew up. And he kind of explained it, like how he paid for the guys this, he paid for his housing and all this shit. He kept going on and on and on. Did you hear it?
Like, yeah. It's crazy to me that as an adult in CM Punk, you have to, for one, he's the number one guy who knows that like promos blur the lines. Expect like good promos blur lines. So if you can't now, if you have to know,
it was a lawsuit. It was like a big issue with him. Like that's like a big issue.
I'm saying just for Adam Page, like if you can't take one little ribbing of someone bringing up Colt Cabana, then dude, you probably shouldn't have gone to the company that Colt Cabana is currently working for. Like that in that whole thing, like you're just opening yourself up for issues. I think calling out Adam,
it was off script though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, CM Punk's the king of off script. So
I came at him, so that put him in a position where, like, dude,
I don't know.
You know how terrifying it would be to know that guys could technically go off script on you live. Like, that's not cool. That's not a good working environment. That's why there's like a commotion. Like Joe, if all of a sudden on Paranormal, Buddy just starts ripping into you and how horrible you are, all this shit, then you'd be like, "What the hell was that for?" That just isn't. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't. Whatever.
I just don't personally think that it was as bad as CM Punk took it to be. It was using something real and putting it in a promo that has worked plenty of times. And CM Punk, I think, should have been bigger than that.
I think it was really bad, but I think he handled it really worse.
Oh yeah,
I would have taken care of it. Like, but it would have been all backstage.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have never said a word like he did. He's a crybaby. That's my problem with him. What he showed me is that he's a crybaby because he decided to like be a bitch.
Yeah.
No offense. That's what he's acting like. And I was like his answers were so like dude, like you're not you're not a real fighter. Like I want to want to make sure you hear what Bobby Fish said about him?
No.
Oh my God, Bobby Fish is like he'd fight CM Punk in like he said MMA, boxing. He was like any sport, and he talked about CM Punk's ability to kick, like the fact that like he throws knees in a lot of knees and kicks in pro wrestling, and he talked about his kicks in MMA, which I don't know if you know this, if you remember, he was horrible. He couldn't.
Yeah, he was the opposite of undefeated.
He did no,
He
but his kicks had no torque to him. There was no, dude. I'll tell you right now, he had no power. The one thing that Phil had
Mm.
none of was strength. Like none of his shots that he landed ever hurt anybody. You see what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
He said he had a hard time releasing, like being able to just punch all the way through because he's used to pro wrestling, and he actually asked Brock about it, but Brock was like, you just
you
gotta
just
hit him.
punch.
So like, and he just like I think when he went into the MMA, he went in like a badass because he thought he was starting to believe the whole hype of him as a pro wrestler. So he went into MMA thinking like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do next. It's like, dude, really? You're kind of soft. He's never been somebody that's been. No, it's true. He's never been like a really strong guy. Has he ever?
No, not to my knowledge. I mean, he was always a smaller guy.
He's flexible. That's what he does. That's his
Yeah.
big thing, right? So does he think that because he's flexible at his size, he's going to go in the MMA, and that everybody else will be not as flexible as him, and nowhere near like double the power of him? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was like a mark going into the MMA. Like, they pounded on him. It was like it looked like a guy fighting a guy who didn't know it was a real fight. Both
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
No, he was a bitch. So, and the worst part is Tony Khan. That's his name, correct?
Yeah.
Holds no weight. He holds no presence.
He got booed last night.
In that interview, he looked like CM Punk's, use the word again, bitch.
Yeah.
In that interview, CM Punk shut him up several times.
Yep. I mean, man, it's just crazy how, and again, I want to preface this by saying I get that in the long run, this might be good for AEW, but Tony Khan, in the grand scheme of things, Tony Khan needs to take a step back and not be the GM, the owner, and all this stuff. He needs to hire executives to do these jobs. The Jacksons and Kenny Omega need to be taken off of their pedestal and need to be taken out as elite vice presidents or whatever the fuck the made up name for them is.
It's too late for that. That's a legal thing. You don't make. I told you in the beginning, you don't make that many people vice presidents.
Yeah.
Look, Joe, we run a podcast here with like several different personalities. If every single one of us was a vice president and had to make every decision, we all had to. If I had to like, confer with you guys on every decision made, think about how long that would take things to get done.
Yeah.
And how diluted shit would end up being. Like say I had to take someone's opinion like a Buddy on the music. Like I had to approve it with like Buddy, and he's like, "Nah, I had more rock guitar." I'm like, "Dude, you're not getting it." You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it would take us hours and days. So you can't have that many VPs, and on top of that, Tony Khan he has no strong presence at all. I would go hire Arn Anderson as my GM, and then shut the up and just let him run.
He has to do something. He's got to disappear. Yes, on AEW last night, for starters, I thought it was insane that not insane, but it was crazy that they didn't mention the pay-per-view at all. Their opening like vignette was just literally just MJF and just MJF returning. That was the only thing that they mentioned. They mentioned MJF and they did not specify CM Punk winning the title. They didn't bring up the trios titles, nothing. There was no mention of it. And then they open with Tony Khan doing a taped speech kind of deal where he says, the trios, the championship was vacated, all this stuff. As he came onto the screen, he legitimately got booed by the AEW fans. And I thought that to me was the most telling thing of all, is that the AEW faithful are now starting to turn on Tony Khan because they understand what he's doing. And he sold his soul to bring in CM Punk. And now CM Punk, whether you want to agree with it, I want to agree with it, or anybody else does, CM Punk is slowly eroding this company from the inside out because it's all about him. Because he's made it, I'm the draw, I'm the money, and it's all about him. And it's crazy that that's where we're at with AEW right now. And I personally, I don't think that they will recover as well as some people think they do from this. Because Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world right now. I mean, he is arguably one of the most over guys in wrestling. I mean, if you've heard his entrance, the dude speaks for like 5 minutes before they officially bring him to the ring because they say all this dumb stuff, which is kind of funny. But I mean, a lot of that stuff you're not gonna be able to do now because it's just, there's just a stink on these guys. CM Punk isn't gonna get a big warm welcome when he comes back. And actually, speaking of, there's now reports coming out that he has torn triceps, so he's out for a while now. Which is also kind of one of those things where it's like, so was he gonna drop the title anyway? I mean, he was gonna have to give it up.
Dude, that's why he dropped the title so friggin' fast. I knew there was an injury.
Yeah.
The minute I saw that match and they made Moxley run him over, I went, wait, this match wasn't even 3 minutes. Not even. I'm like, CM Punk's hurt, legitimately hurt. And I guess Phil is still straight edge. So if that's true, that means Phil is taking nothing for the pain. And Phil must be a miserable prick. Like, it must be really hard to be around. Like, somebody that's in that much pain with a torn tricep, like that would make you miserable. And to have to answer questions about a lawsuit. So I get why he went off the more I watch it, right? I just don't like his bitchy tone. There's just something about the way he represents himself, and he keeps shutting up Tony Khan that I'm like the first time he shut him up, I was like, ooh, that was awkward, right? But then he does it again, and I'm like, ooh, no, that's just how I guess that goes. Like, that's just how that relationship with those two goes. And you know what? That's not good, Joe.
No, and ultimately, kind of like I said before, I think this is, as much as everything, all the reports you'll read now are saying that this was good for business and ratings are up and all this. This is, I think, one of the worst things that could have happened for AEW right now, because now the guys that they did, like, they have to rely on Moxley and Daniel Bryan and Bryan Danielson, whatever the fuck his name is, whatever. I'm sorry, whatever it is. It's a bad look, man. They just don't have anybody, I think, that can carry the company out of this. Everyone was going gaga over John Moxley's little soliloquy at last night, and I thought it was just dumb. Like, oh, the AEW championship means this and it means that. And it's one of these things, man, with AEW, like, I like it. I like the product. But, like, you're only been a company for like 3 years. You don't have this storied history. You guys aren't this legendary company. And the fact that you're trying, the title means so much. Like, no, I'm sorry. Whether you like WWE or not, the WWE championship is the title in wrestling you want, because it's been around in name for 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, sitting there and just gushing over the AEW championship just seems so, to me, it seems so fake because of what had happened. Almost like trying to, like, all right, guys, like, we know everything's dark, and they even said it that way, dark times, but we're here to make it through, and blah, blah, blah. And then MJF in his promo, when he
wait, stop, don't go to him yet. Let me stay on Moxley's promo. Here's what he did wrong, and here's how he should have done it. He should have said, if I'm gonna make this, like, if this belt is gonna stand for something for generations, then it needs to be carried by a champion that blank, blank, blank. That's what he should say. To say how honored and whatever it is, prestigious it is to be the AEW champion is like, no, not really, dude. You guys just started. Like, talk about how you want to set a foundation for future generations of AEW champions being like the best of the best. Like, you cut that promo in that sense, and like say, and when I'm not the best of the best, I want the next guy up to be. So bring it on.
Yeah.
Drop the mic and just walk off.
And even comparing his match with CM Punk and losing to, not hitting that last second shot, and then, oh, now this tournament it's another chance. It's like, the analogies were just awful. And I personally, man, like, I've never liked John Moxley. I didn't really like Dean Ambrose. I just don't like the way he cuts promos and his character. It's very played out and cliched, how it's just, I'm just crazy all the time. I'm just brute and crazy, and I just love blood and death matches. Like, I'm over that. I'm not a fan of that stuff. And so listening to him is just so tired. And that promo, man, I shut it off after the promo. I was like, all right, they've lost me now. Like, you had me. now I'm lost because we're gonna try to be this happy friggin' rainbow shit out of our ass kind of thing, and it's like you're putting the belt on either Jericho or Moxley again. And that's where you're going with this company because you don't have the balls to put on Bryan Danielson. You don't have the balls to give it to Sammy Guevara. You're not going to give it back to Adam Page because you guys went nowhere with him. Sadly, because I think Adam Page is a great champion, but they didn't know what to do with him. Definitely not putting it on Darby. So we're going to fall back on our laurels here. And it's too bad. Granted, I think I know where the title's actually going to go after this tournament, but I think we'll probably get into that now.
All right. Let's segue into that then, Joe, because there's just so many ways we can go with what's been going on with wrestling.
MJF.
Let's talk about him. Go ahead.
That promo. So I'll tell you what, that guy can talk, and him being the first one to come out was great. Him doing this crazy, like, I'm just a heel now thing, I totally bought into, and monitoring Twitter, so did everybody else. And just abruptly turning heel for a second, I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. And then listening to him, man, it's the same thing that I complained about months ago when we started this program, was that AEW just needs to worry about AEW. Everyone's aware of the other company. We all know that WWE exists. Everyone knows. We all get it. Half of your rosters from there. They need to stop bringing them up. And MJF using WWE to generate heat was such a tired way to get cheap tricks. And I think for me personally, I thought it was funnier than it was, being like, oh, boo WWE. Like, nah, man, like the fact that you mentioned the game and Nick Khan and all this stuff, like, just makes me like the other promotion better, because it's like someone breaking up, like a girl breaking up with you, and then you start dating somebody else, but you're like, you know what though, I still like that other place more, but I'm gonna stay with you, but like, I'm still kind of fantasizing about that other company. Like they're just at this point now, him talking about how I think I'm gonna go work for the game, like that doesn't work for AEW because it's actually better there over at WWE under Triple H.
The way he portrayed it made AEW seem inferior.
Yes.
So that's the issue. Like, I know what he wanted to try to get across, but it just made AEW seem inferior. And not only that, when they say they're as good as, like, you remember kickball when you were a kid?
Yeah.
You played kickball?
Yeah, of course.
Were you getting good at it?
Yeah, I mean, I was always like kind of mediocre at sports, so no matter what sport I played, I was usually decent, but never good, never great.
Really?
Yeah. I'm athletic. I can play all sports, but I was just never great at. Actually, I'm a really good bowler. Very good bowler.
Yeah, I get I could play I played every sport. Like, even my twins. I have a daughter who can catch a football probably better than most of the guys I know.
Don't get me wrong. I did say I can play proficiently every sport. I've just never been great. There's not one thing I do great in any sport besides bowling. I'm a great bowler.
Do you remember when I had out all my trophies?
Yeah.
All the championships that I won?
Yeah.
No, I was actually somewhat great in sports. Yeah. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna take that accomplishment. Because I was, what I would say to everybody was, I was the ultimate second round pick. Here's the reason. When they put together like leagues, right? Like our town had a league of, like, back in the day we played, it was real competitive and serious. We took it serious. Not like it is today at all. But there were like 8 teams. So like 8 teams. So when you draft, and now I've been a coach, you draft flashy. You want points. That's your first round pick, right? Somebody who can score points. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was always how it went in that league. And then in the second round, you take the best basketball player. That's where I come in. Now, I knew at first I couldn't shoot. It took me to my last season. So I didn't care about shooting. I would get a rebound and kick it to the kid who was the best scorer on our team. He'd shoot, miss, whatever. I rebound. If I could score inside, I would. If I didn't, kick it to him. We did a video shows a game I play against him on another team, Joe, just to say. But this is the real thing. My son will testify. I had 17 points. I had, I think, 18 rebounds. I had 11 or 12 assists, 2 blocks, and I had 3 steals in a game. I was like, I think I don't know. You know what? I had 20 rebounds. That's why it was such a beast to Mike. Like I used to average when I played in that other league too, 15 and like no, 10 and like 15. And like maybe assists like another 10. But like that's not flashy. 10 points a game, 15 rebounds, 10 assists. Like you don't look at that and go, wow.
Guy
Because
says he averages a triple double and says that's not. Says it's
no,
not flashy.
because the kid I'm kicking it to though is scoring 30 points. Who are they gonna say is the best player? No, but no, for real.
No, I get what you're saying, but
You're gonna
still,
be
let's
scoring
not pretend like
20.
averaging a triple double isn't a little flashy.
No, I always made the All-Star team, but every year they would pick All-Star team, and like out of the 8 teams, there was only like, but I always made it. But I knew my role, Joe. Is what I'm trying to say. This all comes down to the fact that it's because I knew my role, and I didn't want to be the star. Like I didn't care about how many points I scored. If I won, I know you're yawning about this. It just makes me better. If I won, that's all that mattered. All that mattered was winning. I just want to be on the winning team, so I would do whatever I had to do. Dude, I was the dirtiest basketball player. I wish a Genius Kev could pop in for a second right here. Because now listen, Genius Kev used to have to battle against me in basketball. Now, Genius Kev is my height, maybe a little bit taller, right? But Genius Kev at that time had to weigh about $175, right? Well built. And I'm rocking maybe 135 tops at that time. Skinny's all can skinny be, right? But I was so dirty, Joe. I would hold the back of Kev's jersey if he had to go try to jump for a rebound and hold him down. He wouldn't be able to jump, and then I would jump. You get pissed off because the ref wouldn't see it. I would step on his sneakers right before I was about to jump, and he'd jump like on his foot so he couldn't jump, and I could. I used to do a thing where this is the big one, and the rest would never see it. With my left hand, I would put my right hand up, which would draw their attention. With my left hand, I would shove him in the small of his back for a rebound. So on every rebound, I would act like I was going up with my right hand to go with the ball, but I pushed Kev just enough where he'd end up falling in, and it would come to me. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I got away with that over and over, and he was telling the ref that. Like, that was like a thing that I would do to him badly. So you got to understand, this is the type of shit that I would live for. Like, that was what, and I wanted to win. So you need guys that don't want to be champion, but want to be great. So in the WWE, I think you can do things like that. I think in the AEW, I don't know. I think some of them all want to be champion. There's a lot of guys that just want to be champion. Like they just want to be the guy who scores all the points. They don't want to be the guy that helps the team be the team that wins all the time. The Undertaker didn't give a shit about the fact that he wasn't champion.
Kane.
Over and over and over. No, but more so the Undertaker. Like
I know what you're saying. I just always go for Kane because I think he was the ultimate team player as well.
Dude, how many?
Oh, what interception! Sorry, it was great interception.
How many? Don't tell me. How many championship runs for how great he was really should have Undertaker had?
He should have had a million of them.
I mean,
a
like
million.
Edge and whatnot.
Yeah.
Right? So, but
I mean, he was hardly ever WWE champion. I think he only had 3 or 4 runs with the WWE championship, coupled with the world heavyweight. But
so what I'm saying to you though is he's the second round pick. That's Money in the Bank. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, because we would take Stone Cold The Rock before we take The Undertaker, but The Undertaker would be a solid second.
He's the guy that's going to make the team win.
Yep.
Over the long haul. And to me, that's how it is in wrestling right now. So my ideas are this. Malachi Black should come back to the WWE and see how he used those guys in AEW. Like made them become part of his whole whatever that's called.
House of Black.
Okay. Get a Braun Strowman. Get someone else like that. That's a name. Like get people that at least 1 or 2 that we all know, right? And then, Joe, Bray Wyatt has a problem. He can come back with whoever he wants to bring and have a problem with Malachi Black, like the dark forces of the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say? There's
Yeah.
not room for those two groups. That's something I would watch right off the bat. Right off the bat. That would be a Malachi Black group that builds a little bit. And I want it to be so I want it would be great if Judgment Day went about their business, right? But Malachi Black's group was more the death metal dark side, like the
The
death
House of
metal
Black.
side,
You're saying just take the House of Black and transplant it into WWE,
but add different people.
where
So
it's
now
more acceptable for supernatural. Yeah,
now they've got Judgment Day, who will have to bring back the demon to deal with these other people dealing in the dark forces. And then you'll have Bray Wyatt come back maybe during that match to stake his claim. Joe, just that alone, those three factions going, would have me watching that. And I don't care who's champion. You get me with that? Like,
yeah.
I don't care up the fact that fucking Roman has got the both belts. Yeah, he'd be my first round pick. Of course he would be. Look at the way he looks. Good looking guy, both belts. But of course. With Paul Heyman, of course. His cousins behind him, of course. But however, you put an angle together like that, that's why I'm going to watch the show. Did I bring that all the way around for you?
I agree. Yeah, those are the days with the ministry and the corporate ministry and oh man, where it's just warring factions constantly, and then you had some other programs scattered about. I know they're getting back to that, and I'm pretty excited for it.
But isn't that a perfect way to bring both of those guys back to the WWE?
Yeah, I think with Bray, they're biding their time, and they're waiting for the exact right moment. And maybe it's a feud with Karrion Kross when he wins a title. I mean, who knows? Maybe Karrion Kross's first opponent ends up being a returning Fiend with Redbeard, or maybe Dexter Loomis joins, or it's he takes Braun Strowman. Like, who knows? There's a lot of different rumors and a lot of different ways they could go about this.
Can we just talk quickly about Dexter Loomis?
All right.
On Monday Night Raw or not Raw. It was the pay-per-view.
Yeah. You're talking about Raw where he popped out of the bottom of the ring, just looked up at him from the bottom of the cage.
Stared at him and then
how fucking great was that, dude?
And choked him out and then just like petted him out like he does.
Yeah, pulled him out of the arena. You're talking about the pay-per-view then.
No. It was when he came up. Oh yeah, it was a steel cage.
Okay, yeah.
Instead of winning the match, decided to go back
in. Yeah.
Dude, let me tell you something. In no other circumstance would that concept work to me. Like if you pitch that to me without telling me the characters or the situation, like, and then the guy pops out of the ring and it makes the other guy go back in the ring and not win the championship, I go, that would never happen. It would never happen. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then if you were like, it's The Miz and it's Dexter Loomis, and then they pull it off the way they do, I bought The Miz actually rather going back into the ring.
There's a great picture of it's a shot just looking straight down the cage side, and Dexter, it just straight down at Dexter Loomis, and just the way he looks on the mat looking straight up is it's priceless. It's such a great moment, man. And I like Dexter Loomis's character before he was on the big league roster, and I love that Triple H brought him back as the same character. I love that the next night he came, the night he debuted, that next night he was on NXT, and him and Indy Hartwell had like they came back together and had a moment. And then he gave her a note that was like, "Hey, I'm back, but I have to leave you now." And he goes to the main roster, man. It's like, it's a great character and a great spot. Cause like, that's the quirkiness that WWE needs, get rid of the 24/7 title bullshit, which it seems like they have. And if you want comedic angles, do it the right way. And I think that's what they're doing with The Miz and Dexter Loomis.
But listen, it's almost not comedic because there's really something spooky about Dexter Loomis that I've loved even back in NXT, and I couldn't wait till they brought it out. But like, I'm usually afraid that they're gonna ruin everything. But like, only Triple H would say, "Yeah, just have him pop out and stare at you." Like, dude, that works. Like that to me it's no, you know what I mean? Like it's corny, but like I'm saying to you, if you would have pitched that whole scenario with anybody else, I would have been like, "Hey, Joe, you're out of your mind." But then the way they pulled that off, I'm like, I like this. I
Yeah.
like where they're going with this. Like they got a lot. He's building. Here's what he's doing. He's building characters, and on top of that, if you've noticed, he's made a strong push to bring his NXT guys back to the forefront and explain their characters better.
Yep.
Even like what's his face with the Miz, just being with the Miz, wearing the same colors. What's his name?
Oh, Tommaso Ciampa.
Just giving him a chance. They're just giving him time. They're giving him a chance to be on the mic and to be active. So it's. I think Triple H is doing the job. I really do.
Yeah, they just made him CFO, whatever, chief. He just got a promotion. He just got moved back up. He oversees like everything now. He's head of everything basically. He's in charge of talent, media, creative. I mean, he runs WWE now. He runs every facet of it now.
So you're saying that but it's not just him. I think it's his wife. Doesn't she run like a lot?
Her and Nick Khan have other positions, but he right now is like head of like the majority of the stuff that you would want him to be head of, and that's including talent and creative. But I think he's like was promoted like CFF or something. I forget what it was called. But I don't know.
Can I ask you a question? You think when he dropped out with health reasons and then she did, right? Do you think they started to make a plan when they knew that all the shit with the dad was going south? And do you think that like Triple H was like, I'm going to do this only if I run it?
Yeah.
No. You think he had to throw that trump card, like that whole? And I don't mean that the ex president. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a term,
yeah.
Like,
yeah. No,
dominoes. Like, in other words, like dominoes, bitch. Like you think he was like, I'm not doing it unless I get control. Like,
yeah.
You saw what I did with NXT when you didn't bug with it, right? I made it become at one point almost considered the third brand, like as equal, where they started to fight at a pay-per-view as an equal brand, right? But no, you got to let me do that. And how are they going to say no to that?
Yeah, they didn't. You know, once they saw they didn't have an option, they gave the keys over to him. And I think that they saw it coming because the speed in which he was able to bring some guys back kind of makes me think that he was in contact with people before everything hit the fan.
This is my point. I'm trying to tell you, like, I think behind Joey, you're gone. What happened? Oh, there you are. So here's what I think happened. I think Tony Khan, if he took over, the guys in the back would have been upset. He would have had a hard time gaining everybody, especially because he's not a wrestler. Like, he's not a wrestler. He's not Triple H. They like Triple H. A lot of people like Triple H. There was a lot of positive people that like Triple H. So if it goes to him, it doesn't work. If it goes to Stephanie, it's got to go to Triple H. That's even who they wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was the heir apparent for years, and then he had the health issues, and he got booted out of NXT, and you kind of thought, all right, well, maybe they're moving on. And he's proving everything that we've said for a long time that as great as Vince was and for everything that he did, he needed to he needed to leave and let somebody else take the keys to the car.
Joey, there's so much more we can touch on, but you know what it is? When we're going to do these Thursday shows, if we're going to do them every single week, they're going to run about 45 minutes. I apologize to everybody that wants that extra 15 minutes of us babbling, but this is how it's going to be because there's football on, and we are sports geeks here at Legit Podcast.
And this game so far is an absolute.
Thank you. Anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, so the last tidbit I want to leave you with is that kind of makes you wonder about how deep things really ran that pushed Cody to leave AEW and come over here. You know, maybe it was something to do with CM Punk coming over and getting all the spotlight, and Cody, who was another EVP, kind of getting shoved farther down the card because Granddaddy CM Punk was there. Just makes you wonder. Makes you wonder what other reasons could have been that he came over to the WWE.
Yeah, he could have seen that there was too many
Too many cooks in the kitchen. Because he
yeah,
went from being mid card to instantly launch as the top face over at WWE, and the crowd ate it up.
dude, he is from a wrestling family that knows what they're doing. He's really smart. He just saw the waves coming in, and he
Yep.
reads them quicker. And he was like, "I'm out of here."
Yeah.
All right. I have nothing else to say. Tonight is what, Thursday? So the next show means to be what you all have to be at. If everyone's not at, they're friggin' stupid, because the way we are picking games at an over 72% is unbelievable. Joey, really quick, the two websites that we've taken over, because we're a conglomerate. We just keep taking over websites. That I wanted to make sure you were aware of. Hold on one second. I know you're rushing, but is fantasysportsreports.com. That's for when we do the fantasy portion of the football show. And then for the betting part, because we're going back to school, my daughter's going to college, we thought we'd break it down on a basic level. We bought out betonsports101.com, the basic entry level, Joe. So that's when we'll give our picks. And on Sunday, we're going to do just that again, but we're going to give picks on all games. So why not come make money? And you know that we pick over, like I say here, 72% for 2 straight seasons.
And it's very true.
BetOnSports101.com.
You want to
So
get rich quick.
for Joey Paranormal, for me, Mike Leprey, it's King Mike L. This was World of Legit Fantasy Wrestling, brought to you by legitpodcast.com. We'll see you again next Wednesday. The show will never die. We are done.